Hello, this is Dan Ferrisi, Group Editor, Commercial and Security with Commercial Integrator, here with my friends Thomas and Graham at the HD Base T booth at ISE 2025. We're going to be talking about sustainability, SDM modules. Before we really get into it, would you both like to introduce yourselves?
Yes, hi, Dan. My name is Thomas, and I'm the president of Apantac.
Thanks, Thomas. Thanks, Dan. I'm Graham Kirkpatrick. I'm the head of the solutions team for Sharp NEC Display Solutions here in Europe.
Again, Thomas, Graham, thank you for being here. We're talking about sustainability. Why don't we start big before we burrow in too deeply? Why don't you talk a little bit about why sustainability is increasingly important, is increasingly recognized as being important among industry stakeholders and among leading industry vendors like Apantac and like Sharp?
Well, electronic waste has been a big problem. And of course, we want to reduce the waste and protect the earth. So that's been a very, very important thing within our company. And the other thing is really that if you build reliable products, upgradable products, you don't really have to replace them nearly as often. And it's good for the customer, it's good for the environment, it's really good for everybody.
Good for the customer, good for the environment. What would you add, Graham?
I take all of Thomas's points. I would even say that it's about choices. Making the right choice and making the right investment from the outset is probably the most sustainable decision you can make. If you end up buying a lower cost product, you end up buying it twice, which means you're going to increase the e-waste that we're all struggling to contain and reduce.
Absolutely. You may spend a couple dollars more, but you're not going to be replacing it within 6 months, right?
Yeah. So do you want to talk a little bit about some of your own initiatives? I know before we went live, Graham, you were talking about a kind of a Second Life program that Sharp is leaning into, and I know Apantac is doing things as well. But do you want to talk a little bit about your own specific sustainability programs?
Yeah, of course, Dan. Sustainability has always been big for us. We've had CO2 meters built into our displays probably for the last 15, 18 years. So customers have had the ability to know how much CO2 they've generated in a meeting within our displays. But we launched at the show today, we launched a program, an initiative in Europe around large format displays called Second Life Warranty. Purposefully, it's designed to help repurpose equipment that's coming to end of moderate or low usage life, especially in large corporate environments where they have a mandated 3 or 5 year total cost of ownership and they have to get the assets away. We'll take the assets back, we'll reassess the assets, and we'll re-warrant them for up to an additional 3 years, and then has the ability to sell through either into the same program, or we'll be able to sell it through to other vertical markets where maybe actually costs and considerations around sustainability are more important. We're seeing a lot of tenders as well now focusing on this as well. So for us, it's very much a big talking point over on our booth, and I'm happy to have that conversation with anybody over the course of the week as well.
Well, for us, it's actually very interesting that I get to sit here with Graham, because we have been partners with Sharp for a good 10 years. And the company that drove us into sustainability and lower carbon footprint is Sharp NEC. So we were making these products for Sharp NEC back then, and we had to measure the carbon footprint of every delivery. We had to measure the kilowatts per hour spent for every manufacturing run. And of course, with all the environmental paperwork that we had to fill out. I have to admit, I wasn't happy at that time, but I'm very happy now. So one of the interesting stories that we did is this year, it's our 17th anniversary. We have a customer that has our product for 15 years. Out of these 15 years, it's a post-production house. They have spent only $850 in maintenance costs out of these 15 years. And that's after the product warranty.
That's a remarkable fact, and I think that really speaks to the idea of making that long-term investment. It's not something disposable, it's not a commodity. You're investing in something for the long term. One thing I want to get into a little bit is the SDM module idea, upgradeability. Do you want to talk about how that factors into eliminating or minimizing e-waste and supporting sustainable ideals?
Yeah, so we launched SDM as our second generation of open modular intelligence. Previously, we used an Intel OPS format, but with the new desire for screens to do more, generate greater resolutions, be more intelligent, we moved the platform to SDM 5 years ago. From our point of view, it gives us the ability to have interoperability not only with our own products, but with third-party initiatives as well. So it allows us to play very nicely in markets that we're not the fundamental in, so AV over IP with a lot of our partners. As my friend Thomas mentioned, Apantac have been a long-standing partner for us, and they make our base modules that are available all over the world, which means we have global customers on a standard platform. They're not having to have a European variation, an Asia-Pacific variation, an American variation. They can have the same product, which means that their procurement decisions can be made easier, quicker. There's lower costs associated to that. But from the technology point of view, as our panels evolve, a customer may just need to upgrade the panel. That may be through choice or through a service matter. As long as the interoperability of the embedded compute solution can come out and go back in, they're not having to rebuy that whole solution twice. So if it's a service call, it's a straight swap out for us, and that's really good for the customers when they've got to look at their own footprints. Thomas?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So when you measure e-waste, right, you want to minimize e-waste, then displays are not small. So displays are not small. You don't want to be replacing your display every time that you have a new format. So SDM will become a common format for many different many different type of input formats. For example, so when a sharp display wants SDI, we could put in SDI. HDBaseT, we could put in HDBaseT. I'm actually holding an SDM module here. One of the things we talked about, a universal card. You notice this card draws the power from the display. So we're not like, oh, okay, we're in Europe. We're going to have to get a European power supply. Oh, we're now in Asia. We're going to have to get an Asian power supply. Or Australia, right? So this one single card, without having extra external equipment, it saves on cables, saves on power supplies. Of course, now it saves on e-waste.
And those savings are important, obviously, not just to the end customer, but also to the channel partner, the integrator, the consultant. They're looking for that kind of efficiency as well. Are there any takeaways you would leave us with as far as what integrators, consultants, other channel partners watching this might want to bear in mind so that they can make sure that they are embracing sustainable practices, but also facilitating that for their clients, many of whom might have goals that they need to meet organizationally to make sure that they are not contributing to the e-waste problem, or more broadly, energy waste in general?
So one of the things that I've noticed, this allowed the customers, especially SDM, right, allows customers to pick the best display, the best then they could decide which format they want to do. How do they solve their problem? They could design their system, with the best of the quality of all the equipment that's out there. Let us worry about the format you need by choosing the right SDM.
And Dan, I would just add to that as well that SDM is fast becoming an industry standard. We were one of the first, if not the first, to market. And other display vendors also now have that as well. I think the range of options and available solutions now to marry an existing platform are really important to consider as well. It's very often that when you go in, it may be simply a case of it's a USB-C change, which is driven by the IT channel. And AV guys don't have the ability to go in and strip out mass corporate solutions just to facilitate one change. However, the IT guys driving that with the new laptops and the next generations means that it has to be something which can be quickly and easily changed. So we do a USB-C plugin. Straight through, it comes in on SDM format exactly as Thomas is holding. I would just close to the platform change being as well, is that it's only going to come wider. It's going to have more and more people investing in it as we go forward, which actually means it opens up a lot more opportunities for customers in choice, whether that be commercial, whether that be technology, or whether that just purely be around meeting their own sustainable challenges.
Well, go ahead.
Agree.
Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you so much, Graham. If you have any closing thoughts, I would love to hear it. But thank you for being such powerful expositors of, again, the need to eliminate e-waste, support long life of equipment, upgrade where necessary so you don't have to throw the entire piece of equipment or system away, but you can actually get decades potentially, the story that you told, of life out of different products and solutions, and again, minimize that e-waste problem that all of us are trying to deal with.
Yeah, Dan, that's a really key point. Here in Europe, we've now got a number of legislations which are going to force companies to be responsible for the e-waste they create. We've always had the need for them to be able to monitor, maintain, accurately report back on the destruction of technology. But this now really does make companies accountable for everything they buy in and don't necessarily repurpose or dispose of in any method. They may just put it in a storage cupboard. So I think over the next 18 to 36 months, you're going to see a lot of initiatives coming from end user channels that are going to force manufacturers to rethink where they're at and how they can help customers throughout the whole channel going forward.
Agree?
Again, thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Graham. Really appreciate it.